So first of all, I'd like to let each person introduce themselves and just describe a little bit about, their role in the organisation and what their organisation is doing. But, what really you're doing to strike back. I'd like to start that off with Nick North from the BBC.
Oh, thank you. I'm Nick North. I'm the Director of Audiences at the BBC. So just building on what Phil was saying there, I think when he was talking about the emerging opportunity that we have with analysing data, that's certainly something that's occupying a lot of our thoughts and attention at the moment. My responsibility extends to all the measurement, research and analytics about the audience, and our role is to ensure that the behaviour and thoughts and attitudes and likes and dislikes of the audience are fed back into the commissioning process, into the evaluation of performance and so on. So with the My BBC programme, if we just sort of pick up on that a little bit, that for us opens up a very exciting new data set where we will have visibility of the audience's signed-in behaviour. Now, obviously, that also presents a challenge because not all data is good, to echo what Dags was saying, but also we need to be careful that we don't just look at the available data, and we need to understand that the audience is consuming a lot of content in a non-signed-in state, and so our goal is to embrace additional data sets, to invest more in our own understanding of the audience across all platforms. And that is becoming an increasingly important part of the work that we're doing.
Okay. Matt?
Good morning. My name is Matt Smith. I'm Chief Evangelist for Envato, and we are a video supply chain for broadcasters, service providers, operators, programmers, really anyone who has content that seeks to reach these new screens. We're seeing a shift, I'd say globally, but certainly beginning in North America, and I think eventually here away from siloed solutions where there are different components of a video workflow that traditionally have been selected and kind of connected with teams of engineers with APIs. We're seeing more cohesive workflows that begin with that live linear channel and include things like video clipping and CMS, the players, syndication, so that it's a seamless way to reach all the different screens that you've heard talked about this morning. So we're doing this for some very large-scale operators and programmers, and even small folks who say, I'm not interested in traditional carriage for distribution. I want to stand up my own service, my own app, my own Chromecast iteration of my content, and reach viewers on the screens where they can easily interact with the content and purchase it or support it with ads. And we'll get into that more in depth a little bit later.
Matt, I'd like to ask you, you used to work at Inlet back in sort of 2009-ish. Inlet were one of the sort of groups of people that invented the adaptive bitrate technology. I think that you're in that team, weren't you?
I was there in the early days, and as you say, we were one of the innovators with adaptive bitrate technology, and that's, without getting very technical, it's the way that we're able to adjust data rates up and down, whether your screen is the size of an Android device or whether you're on a smart TV. Adaptive bitrate technology is the heart of what HLS is today. It's Apple's streaming format, but it's really available on any screen, anywhere. And that was really a very disruptive but a necessary moment. We had to have the right streaming technology to be able to build the experiences we have today.
Thanks, Matt. Nicola, I'm very happy that you're on the panel because, we've talked already, you are doing a lot of the things that people are still, working out in terms of strategy. Would you like to share a little bit?
Sure. So I'm Nicholas Deloy, and leading the digital initiative and building digital channels for the free-to-air division of Canal+, which is mostly commercial television. How are we striking back? Well, where is the force coming from, I would say?
The force.
the force coming from everybody in the organization. So we've been training a lot. I think one big thing is that our jobs and the skills need to change within TV organization, because we have to, of course, taking care of the different mutations that we are going through within television business.
So what kind of things are, what kind of things are changing within your organization? Because you have to, keep the lights on and maintain, the existing business, but, you must be building new things and doing things in new ways.
Well, for example, we were one of the first in the group to do in-app purchase within our organization, which is new. So we have to integrate new development teams on apps, for example. And for the first time also, we've been working in a SaaS mode with other organizations, meaning that when we don't have the skills, we have to find it outside of the organization. And that's a different way of contracting and building programs and experience around the programs.
Yeah, you were saying to me a few weeks ago that you have like a kind of an X Factor show and you do special things around that. Would you like to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yes, well, basically, one of our mission is really to build brand awareness around the program before the show air, since we're leading and trying to feed the communities with the different content. So we're preparing the ground, actually, for TV.
Yeah, you're actually starting a conversation, I think you put it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we try on this tradition, I would say, on long live format, which is a French Idol, to renew a little bit the format, which is a traditional, I would say, talent show kind of format. Yeah. So we integrated this year something which is quite new with Fremantle, which is digital casting, which has never been done before in France, actually.
Could you explain a bit more about that digital casting thing?
Yeah, basically we build a platform with a partner where anybody actually could submit different type of content, so mostly videos, of course. So we build various challenges along a period of 3 weeks, and anybody connecting to the platform as a fan could be voting for its favorite candidates. We also had this very interesting engagement solution, whereby the more you would participate to the engagement of the platform, the more you collect credits and rewards. Those credits and rewards are generated by shares, views, likes. You could actually boost your favorite candidates, and of course, there's a wheel of monetization behind that, meaning that engagement creates rewards, rather than rewards create engagement. And you could actually buy some of the credits. So we build awareness around the show over a 3 weeks, months period.
So this engagement that you're talking about is essentially a term that's quite new with me, which is gamification.
Exactly.
Is that right? Yeah.
We found that this is, of course, one of the key trends for millennials. Like in this ego trip we all have, and they have more again than us. During their life and their social life, we feel that gamification is a great way to engage people.
So can they get the chicken wings as well if they do the tapping? Do they get anything for that? If they do the tapping like the chicken wings with ITV?
Yeah, actually they can get lots of things.
Okay.
They can get VIP access to the live show.
Cool.
They can get to meet the contestant. They can get to have, I would say, a personal word from the jury, for example.
3 chocolate croissants.
Sorry?
I'm joking. I said 3 chocolate croissants instead of buffalo wings. It's French.
3. That's huge.
You get to drink champagne with the jury, I would say.
Fantastic.
Which is good enough. So we had a tremendous activity on the platform. We've been amazed by the number of connections. We had almost 500,000 unique visitors over a 3 weeks period, which is about a third of the show performance on television.
Cool.
So, and we see that for the fourth season, even if the format is still very strong, we think, even though we cannot link it directly to this digital activity, but that, the TV ratings are really stable, and we think we are on the right track for...
And, you guys, have got the right idea about, well, I think you have, about targeting the younger communities, you've actually formed some very strong partnerships. Would you like to share a little bit about that, maybe?
Yeah, well, basically when we say the empire strike back, I mean, are we an empire somehow? We are the empire of television, but we were a little bit, and we still have to adapt in front of maybe smaller actors that are more agile. So what we found out is that first you have to still be very powerful. Well, TV is still very powerful, so you have to push your content everywhere on the different platforms and networks, like social networks, your own channels. But of course, you have to adapt your content to the different platforms. So we've been trying, failing sometime, but
course,
we have been
it's
very lucky.
experimentation.
We have been lucky within our organization to be able to try things, and I would say coalition of TV and digital teams are really key in this war somehow.
Yeah, yeah. Moving on, thank you very much. Moving on to Robert. So when I spoke with you, Robert, you said Germany is different. I think we know that.
From a traditional point of view, of course, Germany is different because we are so huge free TV market. And free TV is dominating the whole landscape, and pay TV is very small in Germany. But let me just say a few words about me and where I come from. I'm Robert Amlung. I'm head of digital strategy at ZDF. ZDF is one of the public broadcasters in Germany. There are two of them. And my role there is to look a bit into the future, let's say about 5 years' time. Where should we be in 5 years' time? And then to coordinate within the company all these different tiny steps that should go into that direction. And if you look at the German position, what you can see as well is that the German public is not very fast in adoption of new technology. If you compare, for instance, the adoption of social media and compare the German rate with, let's say, the rate in the Nordics, we're a couple of years behind. And if I would ask someone my age in Germany about Facebook and whether we can chat about, well, personal things on Facebook, someone my age in Germany would never do it. Someone in Sweden would be perfectly happy doing it my age. And so you see these asynchronous developments throughout the market. And I think we should be very well aware, thinking about Europe and European
So you're
television market.
saying that in Germany there's a kind of a digital lag, there's a kind of a delay because of most of the consumers above a certain age are watching linear, lots of free linear TV channels. And how is that sort of, how do you see the German market sort of changing? There's obviously got to be some kind of digital cultural change. How do you see that happening?
That's happening a lot. So there's a
already.
lot of uptake from new services, and I think we come to one pattern that, as a pattern, is the same everywhere. The younger generations do it faster than the older generations, and they do things that older generations would never do. So if you look at the way young Germans use media, of course it is very different to that of the older ones. But if you look at it in practice, then you would find in Germany that there is an age divide at the age of about 40. So if you look at people that are age 40 plus, their way of interacting with media is quite traditional in Germany. And you can reach them with linear television in a very good way. They're happy with that. Of course, you have to offer some support on digital, but it's not the decisive thing. If you look at people below the age of 40, it's a whole different game. And there you rarely have to be present in all the channels. You have the multi-channel world, you have the digital savviness, you have all the expectations from a media house that they can get into contact, all the interactivity that the BBC is doing with the My BBC project. All this is quite essential for people below 40, but it is optional for people up that age.
The pay TV market in Germany is quite small. It's about 4 million, something like that?
Well, the pay TV market is only Sky, and it's about
Sky.
4 million households out of 36. And
So do you see
even now they're in the black, and they've made quite a good deal in establishing pay TV as a platform there. But it has taken them many years more than most other countries.
Okay, we'll come back to you again on the second question or the third one. Mark, hi over there.
Hello.
Would you like to give us some, background as to what you see the challenges are?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Mark Christie. I'm a Chief Technology Officer of Pixel. We provide services and products to help our kind of customers, broadcast customers, pay TV operators and content owners to enable their digital platforms. And I think what we're seeing, quite like Matt said, I think it's an interesting time because essentially linear TV and digital platforms, depending on where you are in the world in different markets, but organizationally I think there are changes of bringing these kind of separate siloed kind of organizations in lots of broadcasters together from an operational viewpoint, and then also from the kind of workflows and all the kind of back office components to essentially reduce cost and be able to empower this distribution to multiple different platforms, whether they're linear platforms or over-the-top platforms. And I think a lot says about, there was conversations earlier about TV is dead. I think TV is very, very much alive. And OTT, or the internet, is just another technology mechanism for delivering great, compelling programming. And I think, it always has to come back to making sure that, if a broadcaster is going to survive, is making sure that they understand who their audience are and maybe use, data in the right context to actually help those data-driven decisions about the programming they should be making and how they can deliver that programming on the best channel, whether it's linear or it's through over-the-top. But I think, TV is very much alive, and I think OTT is just another way of delivering great programming.
But in terms of your company, I know that your company and Matt's company, you have over 300 software development engineers, right? I know that because you've told me. That's a huge amount of software people. You're building stuff all the time.
Yeah.
I see most of the content owners, TV channels needing to be pay TV service providers. They have to be technology agnostic as much as they can, right? Now, you can buy the end-to-end ecosystems off the shelf. It's not a science project anymore. But you still got 350 software developers building stuff. Could you share the kind of things that you're building towards that will help your future clients unlock the future? And I'd like to split that between you and Matt. So if you go first, Mark.
Sure. So, we get involved in where we're providing kind of teams where we're working with our broadcasters' internal kind of IT departments and helping them supplement and grow, helping them with their development of their platforms. And then on the other side, we're really developing what we see as a set of kind of microservices on cloud-based platforms, because there's a very large ecosystem of providers out there. And, this whole, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, there were kind of providers where it was here's your piece of software, it provides you everything, just get rid of everything else, we're your new platform. It doesn't work like that. There's a massive ecosystem and some really, really interesting technologies out there. And we feel as though we're building an enabling platform so we can create a set of services and allow our customers to choose what components they want to use.
So what are the new widgets, or what's the new direction that you're going in?
Well, I think what we're seeing a lot of driving today is in a couple of things. I think around recommendations and personalization, I think is a big move. I also think things like
So you mean like the profiling of the usage, or
I think
helping with the discovery part?
I think quite a few areas. I think metadata is a really important thing in terms of aiding content search and discovery. And I think some people get that really good. Get it really well, and some services don't. And I think that really helps in terms of finding the content you want to watch. I still think it's very limited because it tends to be very siloed. I can't, I'd love a service which knew everything, all the services that I subscribe to, whether it was, Sky or Netflix, or free-to-air, and actually gave me the recommendations across all those platforms,
Right.
rather than, I
that
think
seems-
what the BBC have done is great, but it's all about the BBC content. It's all
So you're,
siloed in that.
so you're basically saying it would be great to have some kind of umbrella
More aggregated.
solution which deals with the things that Claire was talking about, where we're all faced with so many choices, fragmented subscriptions against with different sources and things. Could I just switch over to Matt and get your take on things, Matt? In terms of what you see the next wave or edge of the future is.
And I agree with a lot of what Mark said. We do very similar things. I'll make an analogy. Today, as you say, for broadcasters, programmers, whoever the entity is, call them whatever you want, this is no longer a science project. OTT's advanced to the state to where there are very viable enterprise solutions out there to where you can identify the boundaries of a platform where you can license or engage a partner and have the best of breed, people who do this day in, day out, who specialize in this type of technology. The analogy I'll make is, I'll use Dags from the last discussion. If you've got this shiny new BMW, you're not going to take it to a Seat dealer to have it operated on, right? He's not going to know how to change the oil filter in your BMW. So in a similar way, why waste time trying to boil the ocean and figure out, how your organization can build this widget or that widget or something, creative about your video experience. To your question about what trends and what things we're seeing today, we hear programmers or broadcasters, again, insert blank term here, say, I want my content to market faster. So we see things like instant live to VOD. So the minute after a show airs, that last few seconds of the broadcast, leveraging information in the video signal and also software technology to make that content available immediately. And since we've already been rolling on it and streaming it live, every break that we've observed is now marked and monetizable for VOD content. For broadcasters, it's taking all the, and I'll use an old term and date myself, cutting room floor stuff. Broadcasters shoot, hours and hours and hours of content, and they may put together a 1 and 30-second package, or maybe it's a documentary, but the reality is that there's still tons of content that never makes it to air. So taking that content, repurposing it, and putting your brand out there around that content in your app, on your .com, or maybe even you syndicate it, right, to these social networks where there's massive audiences. Those are some of the trends that we see.
Yeah, editorial is still, content is king, but editorial is still key because you have when you're a broadcaster somehow, you could find yourself overwhelmed by content that are not relevant for a certain target of people. So you still need to have, a good editorial team in order to push the content and create this context of consumption around the content so that it actually works. Otherwise, you would find yourself only pushing for something that is already working, which is great because, in the internet, you really have to choose your battle. Otherwise, you find fighting yourself against the wind. And anyway, it's not working.
Another trend, too, Dave, is that we're seeing broadcasters say, I can create a separate channel. I don't need a transmitter to stand up another channel today. I can have a combination of live content and VOD assets that you can build into a 24-hour schedule and build an entire channel. Yeah. In the U.S., we've seen this with the WWE and with the Tennis Channel. And I think we're seeing more interest. We're having more people ask about it. So I think we're going to see the birth of more OTT channels, not in a Kylo Ren way, but in the feminine hero way, to use the Star Wars analogy.
I've got an interesting question to ask to Robert, really, and that's it's going back to the German market, and you're part of a public service broadcaster, Nick. You're also. Both of your organisations are funded by government funding. It's interesting that the BBC, its charter is up for renewal at the end of this year.
It is interesting, yeah.
No pressure. and then we've got an interesting analogy in the German market, which Robert, you alluded to, whereby if like you've rightly pointed out, the eyeballs are over 40 years old, they're looking at the linear channels. It's a Conservative government, by coincidence. Is there any pressure from the government and the funding of those public service broadcasters to get in front of the eyeballs and target and improve their relationship so that they've got coverage from a political standpoint with that audience?
In fact, yes, there is pressure. The government, in fact, in Germany, we have to say governments because we have a federal country, and for broadcasting, all these 16 federal states are responsible. And they ask themselves, of course, the question how to communicate across the whole public, and not only the classical TV public. And this is getting more and more of a question because all the political parties themselves make the experience that they have trouble in reaching out to people beyond these 40-year age gap. And so the politicians in Germany decided to ask the public broadcasters to set up a youth offering that will start this October in Germany. And there was much discussion what this youth offering targeted at, let's say, a demographic of 15 to 30 years old, whether this should be a TV channel, radio channel, or something on the web or on social media and whatever. And in the end, it was decided to only put it on the web and on social media, so there won't be a TV channel, and there won't be a central radio channel for this. It is a bit the same debate, I think, like here on BBC Three. Is this something just about the budget being smaller, if this is not a TV channel? Or is it really something that goes well into the future because it is seizing the opportunities that are there?
Interesting.
And I think for the German case, it is both. I think we should admit that there is a budget issue in there. Mm-hmm. But it is both because for the first time in the way public broadcasting is defined in legal terms in Germany, we are now allowed for this youth offering to use not only our own platforms, but also third-party platforms. That means YouTube, that means Facebook, and so on. So for the first time, there is a legal framework detailing how public service media should be present on these type of new entities. And I think this is a big step forward. Because if you look at the old ways of defining things, it was all anchored on classical broadcast, on linear broadcast. And there was some sort of legal, construction to make it work on all these new things as well. And for the first time now, there's a clear definition detailing out what we should do there, and that we should use these type of platforms.
Right. Right. So maybe there's a similar situation with the BBC. I mean, okay, they say that they're independent from government, but perhaps there's a lot of change happening. I mean, you've been in the company a relatively short time, about 19 months.
That's
not
right.
19 years.
Not 19
Which is
years,
quite-
no. It feels
quite
like it.
a unique situation to have somebody like that. And,
Yes.
you must have seen huge changes in the organisation.
Yes, I think just to pick up on what Robert said, I think I would echo the benefits of an initiative that the Germans are undergoing with creating a youth service, and the similarities that we see with the move to have BBC Three have its primary home online. It's a transformative step. There may be budget reasons for that, but I think also to pick up on perhaps what was being said before, it brings the television ecosystem and the digital ecosystem together, and therefore creates new ways of working. It creates really interesting challenges for our team in terms of performance measurement. But what we know very well is that, and I think it was not only for younger audiences, but it's markedly so for younger audiences, that I think it's about a brand relationship more than anything else. And so therefore the number of connections, and going back to what Nicola was saying about building a kind of a dialogue, a conversation about content, is so important. And therefore what we try to, what success looks like to us is engaging with audiences across multiple platforms and indeed across multiple formats. So it's not just about putting our long-form content online. It's about that long-form content, short-form content, Reddit articles on YouTube and so on, and also in terms of actually having impact on people's lives.
Could I ask a question? And that's because you know, the BBC is essentially owned by the public because they pay license fee. You're going to harvest all of this data. Is there any possibility in the future of having some kind of federated, double-blind data blob that people can, analyze and make use of or exploit in some ethical way?
Well, if I can speak from our own, from a point of view that is to say what we would like to happen within my part of the BBC, we would really welcome such a thing, because I think that, and I think more generally, we've talked it's public that the BBC is kind of trying to do more with its partnerships and platforms and so on. So for me, an integral part of any partnership, I would like to think, would be a data partnership, and to start to think about how we can make better recommendations to our audience when they're within a BBC environment that is perhaps informed by their other behaviour, and similarly to have a reciprocal arrangement to be able to help other broadcasters, other media owners make
interchange or
recommendations.
sharing perhaps.
Exactly, because it will improve the quality of the product, and therefore it will improve the quality of the experience for the audience.
Yeah.
And therefore we should be open to that, making our data available more widely, more transparency of data. There are challenges around that, and we protect our audience's personal information extremely tightly. But within those constraints, we are certainly very keen to open up our own data, but there must be reciprocation there. We're looking for...
You want to make it two-way street, basically?
Absolutely,
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you very much for that explanation. I didn't mean to put you on the spot there, Nick, you know.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we have a few more minutes left. We've managed to accelerate the process. I'd like to go out to the audience and see if anybody has any questions for the panel. Please feel free to get as much out of these guys as you can. Anybody? Hand at the back.
Hi there, this is Laura from NBC in the Middle East. Yesterday there was a chart saying that there are 6% of broadcasters who've invested in voice audio recognition. And if we say metadata, and good metadata is the underpinning of great personalization and recommendation engines, what do you see as the future of this industry if actually voice search becomes really, really important for how people discover things?
Who do you want to direct that to, by the way? You want to...
The
Do you
most
want to try one of the
technical
techie guys?
on the panel.
Would you like to step up to that? I'm sure it's going to be either Matt or Mark. I think it might be.
Shall I?
Mark, shoot.
Okay, I do think this is a really interesting area, actually. And some of the kind of innovation we've been doing is using kind of machine learning, deep learning kind of algorithms to see if we can derive context and what's kind of been termed plot DNA from content by analysing the video, audio streams, any kind of subtitles, any overlays, to try and get an understanding of the kind of build metadata, automate metadata from actual analysing the content. And I think it's got uses in lots of different areas. So you may have a news programme and you may have segments of particular subjects in a news programme. So being able to actually search for the news that you want, not only as a program level, but at actually segment level within content is kind of interesting. As I said, it's more innovation at the moment, so we haven't found any really good uses for it yet. So if you've got any suggestions, be more than welcome. But I do really think that having that metadata then powers kind of visual or voice search to actually make these kind of user experiences better. You know, I think the Apple TV keynote was kind of interesting in terms of, you know, take me to the episode of Modern Family with was Ed Norton as a guest. You know, I think as that kind of advances, you could actually use that to go directly to the scene and the segment through a voice search. So,
Okay.
you know, I think these interfaces of Still got a long way to go, but it's going to be very interesting. I think in the next version of iOS on the Apple TV, I think they're enabling voice search through the
Will any of
SDK.
your engineers be working on that in the next few months?
Yeah,
you think?
absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, that's good to know. Another question. I have a couple more minutes. That's all. Question in the middle here. A gentleman there with his laptop in front of him. Hope he's not a journalist.
No, I'm not.
Hope he is.
Daniel Hesselblatt, Unity Media, Cable. It's a question to the broadcasters and picking up on metadata. How ready are you to, well, distribute your metadata to aggregators so that global search, for example, would be possible?
Yeah, metadata is crucial because I mean it's the way your content is referenced everywhere. So it's a hell of a job. The bigger your organization are, the more you have to be, organized and do it the best way you can, and as much as possible try to enrich it. So if we take our example, one of the issues we have is that we're in between two worlds, I would say, where we have traditional broadcasting traffic system that takes down all the content through the different channels. Then after, our mission is to try to enrich the highest possible in the value chain, the content, so that it has the right reference at the end touching point on the different platforms. And at the same time, we have to update and enrich consistently for every single platform. So we're working on that, I would say.
Yeah,
Okay.
Perhaps just add one element.
You
I
have
think
to be
the main
quick.
problem on that is that we have two worlds that are mostly separated. The linear world for metadata is separated from the OTT world. And we are investing at the ZDF to bring that together, and I think this is typical for most of us, that we are facing very practical technical problems to make that work.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to thank the panel. I have to pay them £5 each because they didn't say the word Netflix. There was only Graham that said it at 10:05 this morning with Dags, I think it was. So thank you very much, everybody. You've done an excellent job. Thank you so much. And let's give them a big round of applause.